And it's Sunday, March. Shoot, I don't know. What is it? 9th, 10th. So, anyhow, before we get started, if you could like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Um, Helps us facilitate the growth of this channel as we're trying to push to get another 900 subscribers and break that threshold to really get this channel out there with that 1,000+ subscribership. So that said, and also don't forget, when we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, I am going to give that 1,000 subscriber, we are going to ship them out a wash pail full of car care products, and what have you. That will be, when that time comes, we'll decide what to throw in there. But it's going to be from interior cleaning, detailing, to exterior cleaning, and like a spray wax detailing with some microfiber cloths and what have you. So anyhow, want y'all to know that. So that's why I really press to say, hey, get this out here, help facilitate our growth, getting us, shared and liked and all that. So anyhow, last week went pretty swimmingly. I turned around, I got back. Just to recap last week, I got back to the yard, grabbed another trailer, and went back down to Florence, Kentucky. Unloaded a full trailer, and then got back. I actually ran a day ahead of schedule doing all that. So I was home Thursday afternoon, and then had Friday and Saturday off. Pardon me. So I took that time. We're getting ready with our businesses that we have. I've got our personal taxes I got to get ready, which the wife has done, and I had to really put some time in. It usually takes me some time to consolidate and get everything organized for the tax accountant to sift through our business side and our personal side. So anyhow, that's next week. I'll be glad to get that done and behind us. So I've been following, like I said, I've been following a lot of smaller channels and other informative channels in the logistics industry. So therefore, Miranda there at Trucking Made Successful, she's been doing a pretty good job. Alex at Mother Trucker, he's been doing a good job. So I give them props. There's also where I have linked myself with my, getting newsletters from Freight Waves to Overdrive, Landline, other entities, FMCSA, to stay, up on things that are hitting us in this industry. And I really think this industry, in my opinion, you go back 25, 30 years, it was the Wild West. The technology was not there. The regulations were not there, as they are now. It's good, bad, and indifferent. But with what I saw, say, go back 30 years, that would put me in 1995. I was in it already 6 years into the industry by then. And there was paper logs. There was no GPSs. There was no cell phones. We used two-way radio communications when I was running local stuff that would cover about half of the state. Kind of like the old Nextels, but it was just like a CB radio, but it was a two-way radio that could be reached out from one transmitter to the next and just bounce from tower to tower to hit the truck. But we didn't have all that technology. Things were a little more still antiquated. Computers were just on board with the trucks. The ECMs, the electronic injectors. Because a lot of the new trucks you could still get the mechanical injectors. Like most of those trucks were still being built mechanically with no computers on them. So, so what's the pros and cons from then to now? The pros and cons are paper logs, no tracking, you didn't have a GPS. You had paper maps, or you stopped and asked for directions if you got into a town, or what have you, or you called the receiver or shipper in getting to their facility, and how to approach, how to get there and how to approach it, getting in from what direction, so you knew how to back in or get into their loading. Nowadays we have all this technology. We got the ELDs. We have the trucks are equipped with GPS. They can track it from the office. They can track you from the office with your ELD. So there's two ways of tracking. And if you got a company phone, they can track you with that too. So there are three ways of tracking. And then on the windshield, you got the Garmin, or the GPS. It is it's like sitting in a damn spaceship anymore, with all this technology, and it's good, bad, and indifferent with that. I could, if we were to have an EMP wipe all this stuff out, I would be more than comfortable to be able to buy a paper map. I know how to read it, get down the road, and I know how to do paper logs. But a lot of these younger generations, they have no concept with that, especially ones that have been born, say, year 2000 and now. They really rely on that technology to navigate them in all aspects of life, whether it's banking, having a digital wallet, paying for things, gas, groceries, bills, your GPS on it. So I could be without it and be very comfortable in my skin to be able to get up and go out in the world without it. And that's the thing now with Overdrive. Overdrive had made an article. I've got them over here, so I'm going to glance over here. And actually, I'm going to take these off. It is bright out. It's been a beautiful, gorgeous day out. But I got to be able to see what I'm doing over here. So Overdrive did one article: Highway denies selling, storing, or otherwise snooping on ELD data. So now it's became a topic of discussion, as now there's been over this last year, 2 years, a lot of hacking into the databases for banks, Social Security, phone, Verizon. I know Verizon was one, maybe AT&T was the other one, I remember. There's just been so many corporations that are so digitally, I want to say, conducting business, that their server, what have you, gets hacked, whether it's here or abroad, hackers. But they've been known to, the tapping in your ELD, they say there's that possibility. I don't know if it has happened. I couldn't see anything. But, to be able to go in and fudge your logs, but also mess with your truck through the ELD, shutting the truck off, and that, depending on how hardwired it is into the truck. Mine is a wireless. It's I don't know if they can or not. Who knows at this day and time. I'm not all that in depth and knowledge to know whether or not they can go through, which I have as geotab, and to go through that and shut my engine off or screw with my engine in any way that would affect me in the driving performance I'm doing out here. So and here's the part of that article, this paragraph, is what really got me was this. This Dan Cohen out of Burlington, Vermont, he has a pre-ELD, a 2000, he's got a glider, a Freightliner FLD 120 glider with a 1996 Detroit diesel in it. It's pre-ELD, but because these brokers now, I have a pre-ELD 2000 engine, not requiring the ELD. Otherwise required in most interstate, he said, Axle Logistics, under another carrier's authority, got cleared to haul under his own. So he was hauling under another authority, then he got his own authority. So now under his own authority, said that the highways got cleared Suddenly, Axle Logistics said to Dan that highways broker regulations, which is another entity, they mandated that because I have an ELD, he was disqualified for using his authority to halt any loads under that brokerage. Because they want to only broker people that have trucks that are ELD'd and can be tracked. They need to be able to, if anything, go into that ELD and check and verification that they have their own authority. They have their own, they're looking at their data with the ELD. I think it's crap. So it would not bend the rules for the glider truck, even though my 2000 Freightliner is not a glider truck. It is not a glider truck. Highway, the carrier vetting platform seems to have been on a tear after a previous report about others struggling with or suspicious about Highway's onboarding platform with respect to ELD integrations. About half a dozen owner ops said that big brokers who previously used Truckstop's RMIS service and greenlit them on dozens of loads switched over to Highway, this Highway load board onboarding platform. And so it's Highway that's dictating to these carriers that are pre-ELD out here, like having the old school trucks running paper logs. They're saying, no, we're not going to let this guy take one of our loads, under our brokerage, go somewhere else. So that kind of crap's going on. Moving on. So like I said, I'm just bringing you guys, I haven't done some of the updates or news. I've been reading or hearing a lot and taking time to do a little more reading. Like I said, I'm at home on my days off, just catching up on office stuff. Former Federal Highway Advisor Chief Counsel is tapped to lead the FMCSA. So Adrienne Comrie, she is basically book smart, bachelor's degree, and they're, I want to say she's acting administrator of the FMCSA, FMCSA being the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration. And she's been appointed, and she will lead the efforts to advance commercial motor vehicle safety, improve the efficiency of the nation's freight and passenger transportation systems, and restore common sense to principles, blah, 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 blah. I hope they don't keep her in there. And there's a lot of people that are saying the same thing. She is book smart. She does not have any background in this, but she has worked in other places, but not in logistics. Nothing to do with highway or any of the highway administration and that. She served as the chief counsel for the Federal Highway Administration during Trump's first term, where she saw the legal services related to the FHWA's management of the federal aid highway program. She has more than 20 years of legal, regulatory, and compliance experience within the private and academic sectors. Here's my take. The FMCSA sets the rules and regs. They're being manipulated by lobbyists from ATA, American Trucking Association, who is pretty much, their top board members are all mega carriers. Your Swift, your Snyder, JB Hunt, your big boys, your $1 billion trucking companies. They're pretty much running the board, so they're dictating what, is the laws are going to be to benefit them to transport and move logistics in this country. And, I'm more of an advocate of the OIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Driver Association. With that, I really think that if a person is going to step in the role to oversee the rules and regs of us truck drivers and these trucks out here, they need at least 10 years experience in the field and be a minimum 10 years in the field in logistics, and along with holding a CDL for a minimum of 10 years. Anything less than that, they don't have a clue what they're doing out here. And I don't need another college kid. And it was college kids who designed and made the ELDs, never stepping a foot a day or life in the truck. But you got all these college kids. Here's this electronic device. Throw this in your vehicle. We know what's best for you, yet they're not the ones working with it. And that's what's frustrating and pissing off a lot of drivers. So if you see a lot of upset drivers, let's move this a little. See the reflection is there. That's better. To have politicians and college kids dictate to people, it's basically, hey, why don't we just throw me into the nuclear regulatory and manage and run a nuclear plant? Because, well, hell, I got a college degree. Why not? You know, and this is the nonsense. And it doesn't matter, you know, that he's in or if the previous administration's in. It's just politics, A to B, either side of the fence. It's just, it's baloney. It's kabuki theater, and I am just, I'm fed up with it to the point I told my spouse, because of this kind of crap, these people being appointed, and more saturation of rules and regs is the reason why I want out of trucking. And that's why we're starting businesses, and that's why, you know, people still to this day, friends and family, why do you got to work so much? Why do you got to work so hard? Because I am setting up myself to exit strategy out of this damn truck and move on into the future and beyond, into my golden years, cash flowing through businesses. I'm not retiring. I've been saying this, and I've been beating my fist on the table on this. I'm not retiring. I am just going to pivot into stuff. I can sit in a office, in a studio, and do YouTube videos, be an AMSOIL dealer, do stock brokerage and trading, and I've got, what else do I got? I got some other online stores, and there was something else, and it evades my memory. But there's just other, I'm basically spreading it out over at least 5 different businesses, if not more, that I can manage, run full time when I'm away from, when I step out of this truck. I have a way and a means that even if my health gets bad enough in the next couple, or a few years, that I can't carry my CDL anymore and I can't pass the med card, I've got my exit strategy in place, implemented to work, cash flow me, and I'm not going to be broke, homeless, and poor as a senior citizen. You just never know when a stroke, a heart attack, cancer, something takes you out of the game out here driving. So it is crucial for drivers, especially ones that have more sedentary, regional, and over the road. But as we're getting older, as I am, 58, to stay active. Watch what you're eating and not falling into that trap of just eating up that comfort food. So anyhow, I'm not too impressed with their decisions right now on that. Next. So the BOI. We had to do the e-filing for the BOI through our registered agent. So we are through the Northwest registered agent for our LLC at home, and it's the Bureau, the Beneficial Ownership Information. It is basically, you need to give them what they're asking for information about your company, because they're trying to weed out these shell companies for money laundering and other nefarious things that people do with LLCs. So that was on the table. I had to be registered into it by January 1st or sometime in January. Otherwise, it's like a 500-day fine, up to $10,000, and it could be some jail time. We got that done in the 1st of December, and it popped me $125 to get that in through my agent. And I had to also do my operating papers. Forget what that was called. But that got that done, and then they took it off the table when Trump got in. They put it back on the table. Now we're in the 1st of March, and they said it's done. It's off the table. Don't worry about it. If you we threw good money at it, and I'm probably not going to see a dime of that back. So there again, another money grab. So that the BOI is officially off the table as of March 2nd, that it will not enforce any fines or penalties against companies that do not report their beneficial ownership information as required by the Corporate Transparency Act. So that is off the table. Because like I said, there's been a lot of stuff. There was another one in here. Overtime pay. So get some of these out of here. I gotta clear some of my stuff. Treasury, don't need that. So anyhow, there is a discussion on overtime pay for truck drivers, and I think they're, and it won't let me get in there. Dang it. So right now, that is a bill that has been done up, and I want to say it was through various states. Missouri was one that I saw in there. Arkansas was another. I can't recall. There's like maybe 4, 5, 6 states in there. So what they're claiming is it's a in the 1930s, truck drivers, us truck drivers, we run under the logging system. If you're outside of your, what is it, the 125 mile radius, or outside of your state lines, you have to run a log. Depending on how your company does business, whether you're on the 70-hour clock or the 60-hour clock. And back in the 1930s, and I'm just trying to pull that article up. Let's see. I don't need the cookies. Don't need no cookies. Come on, you. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Wrong overdrive. There's so many companies out here. I just want to bring it up, make sure I'm saying this right. But they were saying that like 1938, they implemented that truck drivers were exempt from overtime pay over 40 during that regulation. I think they're revisiting that 1930s. Let's see where that's at. Right there. Let's see if it'll pull it up. It will not. It does not want me to without buying into the subscription. All right. So, what they're implementing is trying to get these truck drivers that are working, like 50 or more hours. I don't know if they're going off 40. I think they're saying 50, to give them overtime, which is going to change the landscape of how these guys are making money. And truck drivers are very underappreciated, underpaid, overworked, and especially in the conditions they're in out here. And I think that is only fair that they should get overtime after 40. And I don't think we should be paying taxes on any of that overtime. I would like to just say no income tax, period, across the board. So, but that's up being motivated by multiple states right now. You can find that article in Overdrive. Let's see. And then there's another one here. There is a lot of layoffs going on. We know Doge is going out there and doing a lot of layoffs in the federal government. But in the private sector, layoffs are hitting hard and fat. I don't feel sorry for the federal workers losing their jobs. I lived in Michigan, and that's auto industry for the most part. We went through our growing pains in the 70s and 80s. Plant closures, permanent layoffs, watching mega plants, Buick City, 3 miles long, dismantled, and it's 3 miles long of just a concrete slab, and moved that operation to China. So all these people losing their jobs and getting displaced, And I don't see the crying and the boo-hooing, but boy, the federal workers lose their job. All of a sudden, oh, everyone's losing their mind, losing their shit over this. And I'm sorry, but our government, piggies get fed, hogs get slaughtered. We've had way too much fat in our government, too much excess that there's the layoffs and the job cuts. This needs to be downsized and to happen this way. So regardless of what people think, but right now we're seeing in the private sector and what I'm saying about the federal workers is in the private sector, we are seeing thousands, almost tens of thousands of jobs since January 20th. Since he got in, there have been 14,357 job cuts, according to media reports, and worker adjustment and retraining notification act notices. Food processors and distributors got hit hard. Automotive sector sees over 2,000 jobs. I think they saw a lot more than that, to be God honest. I think there's been way more than that. I think that's been over in the tens of thousands for them. They were making in light of Canada pantyhose maker said tariffs could cause furloughs. I just don't feel bad right now because we have too much excess. We have an everything bubble going on. Everything's overinflated, overvalued, are the assets. Your automotive industry, we know those are overpriced. Housing's overpriced. Groceries are overpriced. Throw in the comments, what else are you seeing that you think overall as a nation or as a global asset, global stance, that we have a overinflated priced asset, and everything's just going up in price except for labor wages. So everybody across the board is getting hit hard, and now is not a time to get cocky, go out there and get pissed off one day and threaten your boss that you're going to quit because you think you can go down the road. You may find that is short-lived and far and few now, as far as having a good job just down the road if you decide to quit your job instantly today because of a fallout at work. So keep that in mind. So that's been on the rise. I want to say Friday morning, what was the unemployment, was up at 4.22 or something like that. I listened to Jack Campbell there at Nobody Special Finance. He does a morning show for about 30 to 40 minutes every morning at 9 o'clock. And he just goes right through the markets. No politics, just right through the markets of, the bond yields, what gold prices are, everything like that, current interest rates, but just talking about top tier stuff. And so, yeah, right now unemployment is ticking up. It's not marching up, but it is ticking up. The one that Miranda wanted to keep an eye on, and I've been an advocate to really gripe about this. When you go down the road, you're on vacation in a car, and you can't go through, I know for me, I can't get through Michigan, Ohio, or Indiana, and there are billboards the size of a pole building out there. If you've been hurt by a truck driver, call the hammer. And you call him, and he'll get your money for you. And these nuclear verdicts, going after trucking companies and or truck drivers, the new thing is this tort reform efforts in multiple states would benefit truck drivers. What they want to do is just basically cap these verdicts. These companies, it's just bankrupting these companies and putting individuals out of work. And who does it benefit at the end of the day? Well, so-and-so got in a bad accident. Yes, there are going to be some bad apples and bad accidents, but I can look down just like this, and I bet you there's one day, not even a full 8-hour day, and I already counted over 200 cars went by me where they got both hands on the phone going down the road, whether that car is self-driving or not. It's like, come on. And yet these people can do whatever they want in their car, but man, if I bump the line because the wind's blowing me just right, like it was last week, they got all the reason to pull me over. You're drifting around in the lane. Well, shit, I got 50-mile-an-hour winds pushing me sideways. it's just that kind of crap where the truck drivers are held at such a high standard, and everyone in the cars are just, they're below sea level as far as any etiquettes or driving experience. They just drive like garbage. And so the OOIDA has long advocated for the reform to civil liability rules to reduce lawsuits abuse around the nation. They've also said that plaintiffs' lawyers consistently grow more aggressive with theories and arguments trying to reach into the pockets of truck drivers who often have little to no fault for an unfortunate accident. And like I said, Arkansas is on there, Maryland's on there. They're pushing for this. Nebraska, Oklahoma, South Carolina. So that's where they stopped right there with that. A bill is moving through South Carolina. It's described as a pursuit to level the legal playing field for truck drivers and others. So, as explained on the law, if multiple parties are named in a lawsuit and some of these parties settle outside of court, the remaining party could be held responsible to pay 100% of any monetary damages incurred in the trial, even if they were only 1% liable. There's so much of that going on that it's disgusting that these people are walking away from tens of millions of dollars in lawsuits against truck drivers. Then turn around, the insurance goes up on these trucks to keep these trucks any more than, and I explained this to my spouse today, back in the 80s and 90s, malpractice was going through the roof with doctors. Lawyers were coming after doctors, malpractice. And, nuclear verdicts were going out there, people getting millions of dollars out of these settlements. When I worked in healthcare, the cardiologist that I worked with in the cath lab, he said, his yearly malpractice insurance was $300,000 to carry that. It's ridiculous, but it is expensive to be a specialist and a doctor in the medical field. And because of that, now, truck drivers for the last 3 decades, it's just ramping up in our end. So insurance goes up, other costs go up. It gets passed on to the consumers out there. Just remember that if this verdict and this person got wowed to everyone that, ooh, look at all the money they made, but we as citizens and taxpayers are going to pay for this on the back end, because the loss of that money, wherever they pull it from, is going to get replenished by the taxpayers. So we have to be diligent to know, and we're in a society now for the last 3 decades, or at least the last 25 years since 2000, where no one their feet are not being held to the fire, and they're not being held accountable for their faults, their mistakes, and their irrational decisions. And I think that the pendulum, it needs to the swing to where people need to feel the loss from making bad decisions and be held accountable for those bad decisions instead of being rewarded. So that's my take on stuff, folks. I put all the links to these articles down below in the description. Please go in there and read them yourself. All I can say is, we as truck drivers, we go through so much shit, and we have to go through quarterly meetings, where I'm at, quarterly meetings for updated and, of course, advanced knowledge of the rules and regs. And that's per our insurance company and the DOT. So that's stuff I have to endure. And know this, as a truck driver, I am always under the scrutiny. I have to have a physical to hold every 2 years I got to have a physical to hold my CDL. And if I don't pass it, I got high blood pressure, I've had a cardiac event, if I've got bad sugar, diabetes, instead of getting my full 2-year card, they could say, we're going to give you 3 months, we're going to put you on some meds, and then we're going to have you come back and recheck your blood pressure, your sugar, or whatever, which usually is through the A1C. If we can get that moved down, then they'll extend it to maybe 1 year, then have you come back. We're under that scrutiny. And then we're under the the screening of drug and alcohol testing. Every 2 years, when I do my med card, I have to do a drug screening with it to get all of that to continue to work. Why don't they hold lawyers, engineers, doctors, and nurses to that standard and have and then I get random. 1 year, I think I got 3 or 4 randoms all within like 9 months. And I think all these other professionals should be held to holding. I don't want someone doing open heart surgery or administering medications to me, that they're not getting drug and alcohol testing. How do I know they weren't out partying the night before and they're faking it to make it through the day, on substance abuse? So I really think there's other professions that they should be all held on that standard, and not just the transportation industry, but all walks of professional life. Do I care if Schmuckley over there that's flipping turning the fryer on or off at McDonald's? I don't care if he's, we all know they're vaping in the back of the building there, out in the parking lot. You can smell it going through any fast food restaurant when they're on their break. But the testing, yes, on a high level where you're working with people, any kind of industry, that should be pushed out there more than just the logistics transportation industry. So that's my take. That's my talk for tonight, folks. I hope you find something in this. And like I said, I put the links down there for the sources. Hopefully you find that informative to be able to get some. And if you're not in the trucking industry, at least get some insight of what it's like when the license renew comes up every 4 years in Michigan to every 2 years. They got to go through the screening, the physical and the drug screening and all that just to carry that card. And I've told myself I'm 58. I just renewed my license last November or the November before. So I've got, so every 4 years, so say another 4 years, I think the next time it comes up, I want to be 61 or 62. I told my wife I've got 2, maybe 3 more cycles that I'm going to keep my CDL. And I said, once I hit my late 60s into 70s, I said, I'm letting it go. I'm not going to keep beating myself up to carry it. So by then, hopefully I pivot and went into a different direction in life, riding into the sunset and doing my thing, managing my own business and company and having a say-so. That's why I dropped out of trucking at the end of 2000, beginning of 2001, is I wanted to go to be a chiropractor in sports medicine, work with sports teams, maybe NFL in that, dictate, when I'm going to work, when I'm not going to work, take vacations when I want, and not have anyone dangle and hold over me like a W-2 employee. That didn't pan out because of personal reasons, and not that I couldn't do the classes, but I had to basically take care of my son, and I put him first over my education. But with that, now I'm building up businesses, so I'm in control. I dictate when I'm going to get up and get in the office, do any work, and that's all and the money I make is all going to dictate how much I want to put into it. But I want to be in control of my future. I want to control the steering wheel, not an employer telling me when, where, and how I'm going to do anything. So that's my goal for the future. And Tommy over at Trucking Unfiltered, and I'll wrap this up here. He said something I've been preaching quite a while to my wife, and that is, you can't come in here and expect you're going to live and retire out of being an over-the-road trucker or even a regional driver. At some point, even if you get out there and work 3 to 5 years tops as an over-the-road truck driver, it is best to know that you need to have an exit strategy to either dial it down into doing something local, or align yourself financially where you can go into something better than just holding a steering wheel and going coast to coast driving truck. So that's what I had already done. He's doing his. He explains it in his videos, a couple of videos ago last week. He's getting aligned up to when he gets debts paid and gets himself aligned financially. you know, he wants to just drop back, eventually build his fleet up, sit back, manage it, let other people do the work. He'll be at the office running it. And the same with Nia over at Roadrunner Nia. She just bought a new truck, but eventually she's going to build a fleet up, and she just wants to sit back and let people work for her. So that's an exit strategy, and we all have to know that. And that's how this country was built, on small businesses. It was not built. Walmart and Home Depot and all these big retailers didn't come into America in the 1800s and build America. It was individuals who started a small business and built it into something bigger. We all can do it. No one's a dummy. You don't need a college education to do it. You just need the ambition, motivation, and teach yourself on how to navigate to get that business going. So if you got a niche and you're good at it, get better at it so you're above the crowd in what you do, and cash in on it by making it a business, and reward yourself from the fruits of it. So until next time, stay safe, continue educating yourself. Knowledge is learned, not taught, and we will see you all in the next video.